Have you ever looked up at the sky and felt like something was looking back? Colares, a small forgotten island off the northern coast of Brazil, was once a place of sea breeze, white sands, and quiet nights. But in 1977, it became the epicenter of one of the most chilling and widely documented UFO events in human history. Not one person, not 10. But hundreds of residents, fishermen, doctors, and local officials all witnessed strange lights in the sky. Lights that moved with intelligence. Lights that pierced through rooftops. Lights that burned skin, paralyzed victims, and drained their blood. The locals gave it a name, Chupa Chupa. Things got so serious that the Brazilian military launched a secret mission, Operation Prato, to track, document, and silence the truth. This isn't just a story about UFOs. It's a story about something observing humanity from the shadows. And if what happened in Colares was a survey, what happens when they return? Colares, a remote island village off the coast of Pará, seemed like a place where time stood still. The ocean whispered ancient secrets into the ears of fishermen at dawn. Hammocks swayed in the breeze beneath rustling palm trees. Life drifted slowly, in rhythm with the tides and the sun. Then the nights began to glow. At first, it was just subtle flashes above the ocean. A strange sound, so low it couldn't be heard, only felt, thrumming in the chest like the echo of something ancient. Then silence, but the lights came back. They raced across the sky with impossible speed, made sharp turns, hovered motionless, then vanished in an instant. Their glow was not constant. It dimmed, then flared, as if breathing, as if alive. Locals reported seeing the lights skim over rooftops, dart through palm groves, and hover like invisible sentinels atop the church tower. They appeared in red, white, and electric blue. Each light carried an unexplainable presence, a gaze that could be felt. Dogs howled through the night. Elders muttered ancient prayers no one remembered the origins of. Children no longer dared look out the window. Families erected wooden barricades, spiked with nails and sharpened bamboo pointing skyward, as if to ward off invisible demons. Curiosity died quickly. Terror replaced it. No one dared go outside after sunset. The island became a sealed world, where light became the predator. Dr. Weleed Carvalho had spent years caring for the island's people. She knew every scar, every child's fever, every complication of childbirth. But in the final week of October 1977, she began recording cases that defied all medical logic. Patients arrived trembling. Most were women. Their skin was clammy, their eyes distant. Some collapsed at her doorstep. Others could only whisper. They bore wounds she had never seen, perfect circles, like coins burned into their skin with dark, crusted centers. Around them were clusters of tiny punctures, aligned like marks from medical needles. But there was no blood. What alarmed her most were the blood test results. Every victim showed signs of severe anemia, as if large volumes of blood had been drained. But there were no cuts, no trauma, no explanation. Every patient told the same story, repeated like a haunting ritual. They had been sleeping. Then came the glow, a deep orange light radiating through the ceiling. The room vibrated. The air thickened like syrup. Then, impossibly, the roof shimmered and opened, not broken but bending like the surface of water disturbed from above. Above it, the stars. Then the beam. It struck them directly, often on the left side of the chest. Their bodies froze instantly. Breathing stopped. Limbs refused to move, but they remained conscious. And as they lay paralyzed beneath that light, they felt it. A chilling suction in their veins. Their blood being pulled upward as if their life force was being harvested by an unseen entity. No voices, no creatures, only light, intelligent, invasive, silent. Some said they heard a low hum repeating in their minds, like a frequency speaking directly to their awareness but not in words. They felt no longer themselves, as if their minds had been brushed by a cold, invisible hand. The locals named the phenomenon Chupa Chupa, the sucker, the feeder. Rumors spread like fire through the village. Homes were sealed, mirrors covered. Fires burned at doorsteps, but the lights still came. Even the bravest began to ask what exactly were they facing, and worse, had the island been chosen? By November, the fear had become unbearable. Locals begged authorities for help. Some even fled the island entirely, abandoning homes, boats, and livestock. The mayor of Colares, desperate and under pressure, called for the Brazilian military. He didn't just want answers. He wanted weapons, jets, missiles, defense. What he received was something else. A special unit of the Brazilian Air Force arrived under the code name Operação Prato, Operation Saucer. Led by Captain Iranguer Holanda, the team came equipped not with guns, but with cameras, telescopes, infrared sensors, and radiation meters. Officially, they were investigating strange aerial phenomena. Unofficially, many suspected the government knew more than they claimed. The soldiers set up observation posts along beaches, in treetops, and on rooftops. They worked in rotating shifts, watching the skies day and night. Then they saw them. The same lights, hovering, flashing, darting through the night like insects with purpose. Some were small, glowing orbs no bigger than basketballs. Others were immense, cylindrical shapes as long as a bus, rimmed with pulsing bands of blue light. But it wasn't just their size, it was their behavior. They moved with intelligence. One light would descend low, circle a hut, then shoot back into the sky. Sometimes 2 or 3 orbs would move in perfect synchronization, weaving through trees without ever touching a leaf. The soldiers tried to capture them on film, but most of the photographs were overexposed, nothing but blinding white. It wasn't until one of the technicians examined the negatives under ultraviolet light that a revelation came. Inside the blurs of light were shapes, metallic bodies with seams, ridges, and even what appeared to be openings. The team took over 500 photographs. They recorded 16 hours of film. But what troubled them most wasn't the visuals. It was the way the lights responded. Whenever the team moved locations, the lights followed. When they pointed cameras, the lights moved away, only to return later as if curious themselves. More than once, a soldier reported sudden paralysis after being struck by a beam. One woke up hours later, his uniform scorched, his skin burned in a perfect circle. Whatever was behind the lights, they weren't passive observers. They were testing back. Captain Holanda and his team were accumulating more than sightings. They were building a map of behaviors, patterns, and purpose. Each appearance of the lights followed strange but traceable rules. They often emerged near water before flying inland. They tended to hover over homes with metal roofs. Some even returned to the same houses where victims had previously been attacked, as if tracking something they had left behind. The team noticed electromagnetic interference every time the lights appeared. Radios went silent. Compass needles spun in circles. Even military-grade tracking equipment malfunctioned. But then came a breakthrough. Using modified ultraviolet-sensitive film, the team managed to capture something new. Not just lights, but solid shapes, crafts with contours, shadows, and structure. Some images revealed long, tubular vessels with bands and domes, vessels that moved in perfect silence and with no visible propulsion. Others showed smaller orbs separating from larger ships, like scouts or probes. These would dart around independently, then return and dock with the bigger crafts. By December, The Operation Saucer team had compiled over 2,000 pages of documentation, drawings, and film reels. Captain Hollanda was no longer skeptical. He had seen too much. In his private notes, he wrote, "We are not alone. They are here, watching, choosing, studying." But when the reports were sent to higher command, the order came swiftly. Shut it down, no more film, no more patrols. All findings were classified. Operation Saucer was over. But for those who had seen the sky tear open, and for the islanders still waking up with scars on their skin, the mystery had only just begun. Despite the shutdown, Captain Hollanda couldn't forget. For weeks, he kept reviewing the photos, the negatives, the reports. There was something missing, something he couldn't quite explain, and then it happened. At his home in Belém, late one night, Hollanda experienced his own encounter. He was lying in bed when the room flashed white. The air turned heavy. A crackling filled his ears. Then he couldn't move. His body froze, though he was wide awake. Behind him, he felt a presence. Something watched. Then a figure appeared, a being under 5 feet tall, dressed in a smooth, reflective suit. Its face hidden behind a dark, mask-like visor. It made no sound. It only observed. For minutes or maybe hours, Hollanda stood frozen in place. When the paralysis finally lifted, the being was gone. He never reported it, but everything changed. He became obsessed. He told close friends he no longer believed these were just machines. Something intelligent was behind them. An intelligence capable of reaching inside minds, of altering perception, of choosing who to contact. In 1997, 20 years after Operation Saucer ended, Hollanda broke his silence. In a recorded interview, he confirmed everything: the lights, the beams, the encounters. 2 months later, he was found dead in his apartment. Official cause, suicide, but many believe it wasn't by his own hand. The deeper he dug, the more he realized Colares wasn't just a mystery, it was a message. And someone didn't want it delivered. The people of Colares believed they had survived the worst. But something deeper had been set in motion, something few understood. Not all who saw the lights were harmed. A handful described something else. Not fear, but awe. These rare individuals reported feelings of weightlessness, of euphoric silence, and of strange symbols appearing inside their minds. Symbols not written, but pulsed, imprinted like echoes, not of any language known to man. A fisherman named Ramires, once attacked and left unconscious on the beach, began drawing strange geometric patterns in the sand. He said they came to him in flashes, as if beamed directly into his consciousness. Dr. Carvalho, concerned, had some of the symbols analyzed. One drawing bore striking similarity to ancient glyphs found in distant Andean caves. Another matched a crop circle discovered in England a decade later. The symbols weren't random, they were messages, codes. Captain Hollanda had noticed it too in the behavior of the lights. He wrote that their appearances followed not chaos but rhythm. Pulses in threes, rotations at fixed intervals, almost as if the crafts were broadcasting a signal over and over again. What were they trying to say? Radio operators reported bursts of unexplained static during encounters. One technician recorded a frequency spike that, when slowed down and mapped visually, revealed a waveform that resembled a fractal. Recursive. Endless. Some believed these were navigation patterns. Others believed they were warnings. The deeper they analyzed, the more the mystery grew. Patterns hidden within light. Sounds hiding shapes. Shapes hiding meaning. A code wrapped in fear waiting to be understood. But before they could finish decoding the truth, Operation Saucer ended. And the light, like a closing door, vanished into the night sky. Even after the military left and the lights disappeared, Colares never returned to what it once was. People tried to forget, but the island remembered. Children who had once run freely on the beach now avoided eye contact and stared up at the sky with quiet suspicion. The fishermen, though they returned to the sea, no longer spoke of the waves. Some refused to go out after sunset. Others turned deeply religious, some even mystic, believing they had seen angels or demons. Dr. Carvalho reported a rise in strange dreams among residents. Nightmares filled with hovering figures, flickering lights, and a presence that pressed down on their chests while they slept. Some woke up with nosebleeds, others with markings they couldn't explain. One young girl, just 11, claimed she could hear a hum before anyone else. She said the light never really left. It had simply changed form. The town square where villagers once gathered became eerily quiet. Churches filled, then emptied, replaced by candlelit gatherings in private homes. People whispered of other islands, of other places where the lights might next appear. Stranger still, the jungle surrounding Colares changed. Hunters reported that animals no longer acted the same. Birds migrated early. Insects vanished. Even the trees, some said, grew twisted as if bent by invisible hands. Captain Holanda's notes had warned of this. He believed the encounters weren't just experiments, they were introductions. First contact, but contact with what? No one knew, and perhaps that was the most terrifying truth of all. Because some things don't leave a mark on the body, they leave it on the land, and in the minds of those who survived. When the Brazilian Air Force ended Operation Saucer, they released a brief statement. Nothing extraordinary was found. The thousands of pages of notes, hundreds of photos, and hours of recorded testimony were classified. But stories do not obey orders. They continued to circulate among journalists, in whispers between villagers, and eventually to UFO researchers around the world. In 1997, Captain Irengeir Hollanda, the man who had led the investigation, broke his silence. He described the lights, the injuries, the patterns. He confirmed what many suspected, that the objects were not only real but intelligent. And then, just weeks after giving his interview, he was found dead. His cause of death, officially suicide. To this day, many believe he was silenced. Others believe he had seen too much, felt something no human was meant to understand. The documents were eventually declassified in 2004 under pressure from the public, but much remained redacted. Footage was missing. Photos blurred, audio erased. What really happened on Colares remains a mystery, but the villagers remember. They remember the lights that bled the sky, the soundless beams that paralyzed the body, the codes left in sand and memory. They remember what it's like to be hunted not by claws or guns, but by curiosity cloaked in light. And maybe, just maybe, they were the first to witness what humanity was never meant to see. Because sometimes, when you stare long enough into the stars, something stares back. The files from Operation Prato remain sealed. The government denies everything. The witnesses age, disappear, but the stories linger, whispered across generations. And Colares, now just a forgotten dot on the map, still carries a haunting secret. When you look up at the night sky, remember, not all light comes from the stars. Sometimes the light is looking back at you. And sometimes it doesn't come to illuminate, it comes to choose.